Here's the big question.
How are agents like us,
who didn't get an opportunity to invest in a franchise early,
who are spending time and money to sell homes,
building someone else's saleable asset?
How do we grow a business but still build wealth?
Have an exit strategy,
and get a piece of the pie that's not dependent
on us working more hours and every weekend?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
My name is Jay Kinder.
My name is Al Stasik.
And I'm Michael Reese. We are your hosts, and welcome to the One Big Fire Podcast.
What's going on out there, everybody? Welcome to the One Big Fire Podcast, and I'm excited. I'm beyond excited. I've been excited about this for about a week now. We've got William Grimes with us here, a SOCOM Marine, Special Operations, translates those leadership skills and the things he learned in combat. By the way, thank you for your service. And translates that to building a real estate empire, right? And so let's pick that apart, man. I think there's so many lessons that I'm sure can be taken away from the leadership and the skills that you developed, and then how you have to take that and translate that to real estate and becoming, as you would say, a great real estate practitioner. But then then the leading of others as well, and building an empire, an organization within the real estate industry. So I kind of want to unpack some of that today, if you don't mind, sir. It's going to be a good time.
Not a problem. You call me William though, and that's what my mom and my wife call me when I'm in like deep shit, right? So like you're already I don't know where I stand on this podcast right now. I know we had a snow day here in Colorado, and I'm hiding out in my basement so my little kids don't hear me and want to run down, and then you're calling me William, so I feel like
you're in trouble already.
Deep down, you're like super pissed that I'm in a snowstorm on my phone, hunkered down, trying to make sure we get this content done. But man, super appreciate you having me. And man, just to start off with that, when we talk about being a practitioner, that's where my pride is. As far as like the volume that we hit, we love what we're doing. But if you're not giving back and teaching other agents how to succeed as well, like that's just problematic for me. But part of that is, man, just being a professional in what you do, so you actually have some type of value add. And that starts when we talk about the Marine Corps or any special operations, man. I'm more prideful about being a Marine Corps infantryman. And it's because anything you want to do in the Marine Corps during my generation, as far as special operations, you had to go through the infantry community first and be tried and true as a small unit leader there. You had to have so many high shooting scores, written scores, physical fitness scores, and letters of recommendation from your chain of command saying, this guy is worth it to even try out.
Right. And
I super pride myself on that. So I think where it comes from as far as the pride in practitionership or whatnot, it was, well, the Marine Corps infantry is the backbone of the Marine Corps. That's the main effort. That's what's actually getting the job done, and everyone else is there to help, whether you call yourself special or not. And it's the same in real estate, man. Like, like we're building our network right now, and we're doing some great things and we're crushing it. But whatever we have to give, it's been non-hypothetical. It's been, here's how we've succeeded. Here's what we've done. Let us show you how to do that as well. And when you can speak from context, not from hypotheticals or what someone else is saying, you can actually answer people's questions and help them pivot along the way to grow their success.
I've found that to be 100% true in every agent that I've ever called. We mentioned it in talking to your podcast, on your podcast, and it was incredible conversation. But yeah, the agents that have been successful all did the work, and whatever level, the highest level is, there's all these leadership lessons and things you have to learn to get there. But you had to have done the work, and you can't lead someone else to do something if you've never done that work. And I've encountered at times people that hit that plateau of not able to teach their agents how to make the calls because he never made the calls, and so it just doesn't translate.
Nor does agent attraction. When people talk about like, well, I'm just not comfortable, like, because you're not good at the job yet. Like, you haven't benefited from putting in the work, having some successes, and having something to talk about other than what everyone else is telling you to talk about. And I think it's just important, man. Like, we're super excited to be around you guys. And obviously, like, we've got some events coming up, and there's a huge value add as far as you being a part of our influence. But I've got to find a way to be a value add for people that are around me. It can't just be what everyone else can offer. And I think the better you are at your craft, the more proficient you are at whatever that skill set is, whether it's being online and learning how to funnel attention in as far as potential buyers or sellers, or if you're just phenomenal at the craft and you know how to get deals done and manage client emotions or whatever it may be, you've just got to figure out what that skill set is, and you've got to triple down on creating content around your skill set, and then have people that are seeking that reach out to you. And I think the comfort level it's just better. And it was for us, man. As confident as we are,
yeah.
I think like most of our confidence comes from just staying in our lane, man, of just knowing like, hey, where are we professional? Where are we successful? How can we help everyone else around that? How can we create content around those things? And if you were to ask me how to build $100 million company, I think I'd be super confident in telling you I'm not your guy to build that right now. But here's what I can help you with. But if I'm speaking to that, it's hypothetical,
Right.
and that's where you're
Right.
vulnerable and it's dangerous. But hey, one day we'll speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree 100%. So let's talk a little bit about your production. What have you guys accomplished in what period of time, and what's kind of the vision for that?
Yeah, so I've been in real estate just over 4 years. Not a ton. Prior to that, I helped a buddy build a brick and mortar fitness company, like a GNC. It's called Fit Republic. We grew that from 2 to 14 stores in 2 years, and and crushed that. And that was just after government contract work and Marine Corps and police work. And in those 4 years, man, we got great at just being subject matter experts in our areas and being what you would call the celebrity in your area. My first year, I did 34 deals. And it was, I had no fear. People thought because I had a good network on social media, I was doing a lot of deals from it. And I wasn't, man. Like, everyone was so encouraging that I was doing real estate, but they all knew I was new. And I was not getting anybody to do a deal with me. It was all what I call outbound. It was everyone I'm around on a regular basis that didn't really know what I did for a living. And if I just had more intentional conversations, and if I was more intentional on getting them on my social media, I'd have success. So for example, I did 7 deals out of those 34 from the gym. And it was when I was at the gym, instead of keeping my headphones on and not talking to anybody, I brought my pre-workout to the gym. That gave me 10, 15 minutes to warm up, drink my pre-workout, and have conversations with people. And when they asked me how my day was going, man, I told them about what I was doing. And I told them how my day was going. I asked them, I'd ask guys like, hey, man, you're in the gym at 9 a.m. What kind of job do you have, that lets you do that? And they would answer the question. They would ask me what I do. And I'd be able to tell them what I did. And because I see them 5-6 days a week at the gym, I didn't have to bombard them, man. Like, if they had a real estate question, I'm going to be in front of them on a regular basis to get that. And I was having success at my daughter's school. I would pick her up from school every day. And when all the parents are hanging out, waiting for these kiddos to run out of the school, I was having the same type of conversations at the school, at the coffee shop. I was doing the cotton candy machine at my daughter's field day event, and just, being top of mind and being in front of people. And where I got really consistent was when I'm around these parents or these people at the gym, I was asking them what their social media was. Hey, man, what's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? Like, I'd love to follow you. They would follow me back. So now when I'm creating real estate content on my social media, it's in front of them. They're seeing it without me having to take up their workout trying to pitch some real estate bullshit, right? Like, they could just absorb my content. And obviously the more they like or comment, or the more you go to their page and comment on their stuff, the more the algorithm is going to show your content in front of them. So, man, it was just, and then the people that were supporting me on my social media, I was finding a way to meet them in person. If they were consistently liking my content or commenting, I'd comment back. I'd send them a DM. Hey, man, thanks for the support. It means a lot. Appreciate it. No real estate conversation at all. It was just thanking them for their support. And man, I see on Facebook all the time, we should go grab some coffee. So it was taking people from my social media and then creating a real relationship in person. And then people I was around in person, getting them on my social media so they could absorb my content. And so from there, it was teaching, so I became a team leader with a buddy of mine. We hit top 1% in the world for total volume for Berkshire Hathaway. We didn't buy leads. We didn't do anything. It was just reciprocating what I'd done there. And then in addition, teaching them how to throw events. I grew into throwing some mid-level, small level events in local areas at breweries, doing first-time home buyer events, and just different stuff at like local breweries. We started teaching them what I did on social media and in person with my, what I would call outbound. We taught them how to throw events. And then we went from top 1% to top 0.5% worldwide for Berkshire for total volume. And we did that with 9 agents. And we weren't buying any leads. No disrespect to leads, right? But it just wasn't our play. And like, man, why would you want to pass over your sphere and your outbound and that reach, right? Like, you want to maximize that whether you're doing leads or not. And so we crushed that, man. And we were great at doing the social media. One of our best tools that we had was, and it's still valid today, I still teach it, doing a Facebook Live once a week.
Yep.
And so before and we'll get into YouTube here in a little while, but before we did any fancy stuff, man, it was capturing the content at our events and different things we were doing throughout the day. But it was no matter what, once a week, every Friday, we did a Facebook Live, and we were talking about what's working, what's not working, How are we overcoming obstacles with our clients? What's it like to be a dad in real estate and running around? And people had fitness questions. Hey, how are you guys staying fit while you're running around? So we would do videos on how we're handling our day-to-day life with health and fitness. And it was just generating traffic. And we did not miss a Friday for an entire year, man. It was super consistent. And we can pause there if you like. But then from there, man, is when we made the jump to YouTube. If you want me to start in on that, or if you want me to pause for a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's island internet or snowstorm internet that was failing me there. So I may have dropped off for a second there. So yeah. So keep going. What
did you miss, or what did you
you were teaching the same process that you used, and you continuing on and doing those things and continuing to grow and doing the Facebook Lives and all that.
Yeah, so the Facebook Live was huge because it was generating a lot of traffic. And the bottom line is, man, when like people knew we were realtors, right? Like we're doing enough stuff, like they know that. People want to work with folks that they know, like, and trust. I know that's a cliche thing to say nowadays. Bottom line, it's true. The second thing that's true is you don't need to be romantic how you make your money, okay? Like you've got to just find a way to create a value add to people. So, for example, if you're going online and you're showing your post of, hey, look at me, I'm at a closing with my clients, and hey, I'm so happy for my clients. It's like a very look at you. There's no value add, but if you're talking about relevant, topics, like you go on a live, and it's like, hey, what are the 3 things here in Colorado that we see most on an inspection objection, or that we see on an inspection that might seem like a huge deal, but it's really not. Radon, right? Everyone is so afraid of radon, but it costs $900 for a radon mitigation system. Most new builds put them in for you anyway. And it completely mitigates all radon in your basement. A couple of other things, like in regards to soil, but it's about when we jump on a Facebook Live or we create a post, it's talking about the actual process and managing your emotions and what to expect and how to overcome things. It's not, hey, look at me, I'm at a closing.
Right.
It's not that those aren't relevant. Like you can do those, but that's got to be like one layer to your onion, man. Like you've got to have so many more relevant pieces, because if people are going to pause to watch your content, make it a value add, not a look at me.
Right. So on this Facebook Live, were you actually driving them to an event or to something to become a lead, or were you just getting eyeballs and people just
over time?
Yeah.
Over time, we got enough traffic. It was like, hey, we should just get people in person. Hey, do you guys want to be in person? Should we sit down and start teaching some home buyer classes? Oh, some of you would comment, and yeah, we'd like that. Cool. But at first it was just building the threshold of consistency, building the threshold of being able to articulate valuable content, and then watch the reaction of a consumer, and it started out with 5, 12, 10 people watching, and here's what's so crazy, man. If you put 10 people in a room, you would talk to them.
Right.
But you got 10 people watching your live and you don't think that's a big deal.
Right.
Like it's crazy, and then it started getting into the couple hundreds. And people loved it. And so we'd ask questions. Some of our lives were turned into just Q&As. So we would market that. Hey, guys, this Friday, we're doing a Q&A, have at it. And that's where people started asking us fitness questions. Like, hey, how are you guys staying so fit? You're both new dads. Like we had babies 5 months apart to the day, Eli and I. And how are you guys mitigating that? How are your wives not killing you guys? And that was cool. And like, we didn't want to shun that, right? We didn't want to like, oh, hey, we're here to talk about real estate. I'm a realtor. Like, no, dude, I'm a fucking human.
Right.
And people are engaging and they want to know more about you and how you're becoming successful. But what people don't understand is your ability to articulate, right? Your consistency, your professionalism, like all of those things build a picture of who you are and who someone's going to be working with. And that's where the decision comes from. The decision does not come from your closing photo or your tie. And I'm not against dress clothes if you want to wear dress clothes. Like you just got to be yourself, and you got to take this mask off and realize that you as a person are the value. So consistency matters. If we can shoot video consistently, people are watching. And dude, we did a video, I think it was once or twice at like 6, 7 o'clock at night, but we got a couple of DMs on Facebook like, hey, are you guys still coming on today? And that's when it was like an epiphany. It was like, oh,
there's people watching.
Not only are they watching, but they're expecting, right? So,
yep.
And then pandemic hits, and this is where we started coming across that YouTube idea, right? Jesse and Jackson, Jackson was on our podcast. We've got a pretty large podcast, and we started talking about that. And he goes, hey, you guys are crushing social media. Like you guys would annihilate this framework of YouTube. Have you thought about it? And we started, conglomerating. And this is when we made the transition to eXp. I didn't even know what eXp was, bro. A bunch of letters, cool, whatever. It was people. But that's what speaks to me. And I feel like that's how I try to speak to others is Jesse and Jackson had a value add, man. They were crushing YouTube. We felt there was a value add there. We had to find a way within our skill set to scale because of the pandemic. And we wanted to get more remote to clients and still be a value add, even though we couldn't see them in person as much or do the in-person home buyer classes and things like that. And we wanted to get the education out. So we started doing that, the YouTube project. And there's a lot of work to that, man. YouTube is a different monster. It's not like Instagram and Facebook. And if people are telling you that or trying to teach you YouTube, like it's just not the same, right? But I will say this, doing our Facebook lives and filming our content when we were at events and talking about, super hot topics within the process of real estate that was relevant to people, doing all of that on Facebook and Instagram, it built our threshold to be prepared for YouTube because, man, we're still doing 2 videos a week. We've never missed a video. We've upped it to 3 videos a week now. The content we're filming is super professional. The titles that we're doing, it takes a ton of time to research it, the thumbnails. And if you haven't practiced and built your thread, man, like you're not going to go in and play Major League Baseball. But man, just so to be short about it, since we're in this is sales, right? So not to impress anyone, but to impress upon the point of how successful some of these tools are. Ela and I made over $2 million in commissions from our YouTube channel last year, and it's only getting busier this year, right? So when people call, text message, or email into our channel, right, from the information on the screen from our YouTube channel, they're wanting to buy a house or sell a house in Colorado.
Yeah. And more importantly, they're wanting to buy it from you guys.
Dude. And so for example, the business director, the director of business development for Facebook is a close friend of ours. He bought a house from us. He's in Zuckerberg's cabinet, bro. Won't mention his name. And he's like, hey, I was watching you guys for 4 or 5 months before I actually called you, but you guys were consistent. You were professional. You knew what you're talking about. And he's like, I thought for sure you'd miss a video. And he's like, you fuckers didn't miss a video. And he's like, you guys are go-getters. I'm on a timeline. I'm allowed to live remote now because of how well we're doing remotely during the pandemic. Facebook's letting us go where there's hubs. And so he's moving from the Bay Area out to Colorado, and we hooked him up with a baller home in Boulder. But it was beyond just what we were saying. They were looking at quality of video, relevant titles, consistently not missing. It was everything that shows before we even open our mouth on camera that was speaking to a lot of folks, man. And he isn't the only one that says that, but man, those fundamentals come from being a practitioner and owning your craft, right? Being consistent on social media and that celebrity in your area and responding to comments and responding to people and putting yourself out there. Man, it's the same shit, different shovel, man. If makes sense, right? Like it's all of those fundamentals about being a practitioner that will then prepare you to level up into a different platform that is astronomically powerful, right?
Right. Absolutely. No, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so a lot of this, I would assume a lot of this came from, being in the Marine Corps and being consistent because you had to be, because your lives are on the line. The lives of others are on the line. What was something that when you got into real estate that didn't translate, like you're like, oh shit, I didn't see this coming. Like this is different. Or was it all just based, the same shit, different shovel?
One thing I did not expect and I did not see coming, but I was actually more prepared for than anything is managing client emotions. Yeah. Right? Like going through the actual sell and buy process. It's unknown to a lot of people. They're super nervous. They're super scared. They have knee-jerk reactions. And it reminded me about it being a police officer, man. Like when I was a beat cop, like you have a ton of different things that come about, anywhere from shootings to silly stuff to car accidents. And let's use a car accident, for example. I arrive on scene probably before firefighters. They usually eat chili and they've got these big slow trucks and they take a minute, right? So I'm going to get there first, and it's like, hey, Jay, if you're in a car accident, man, you might have a concussion. You might be super shaken up. It's taking you by surprise. You could be in some pain. You could not be in some pain. And it's me. How am I going to manage you as far as like if you're conscious, if you're unconscious? Let's say you're conscious, right? Because buyers and sellers are conscious, right? And it's me saying like, hey, man, I'm Officer Grimes. Are you okay? Do you know where you're at? Do you know you've been in a car accident? Yeah, you'll answer me. And hey, man, are you in any pain? Yeah. My leg it hurts, right? And it's like, hey, man, that's actually great news that you can feel your legs, right? So, man, super sorry you're in some pain. We've got more help coming on the way, but boy, is that great news, right? And hey, man, while the firefighters are on the way, let me go ahead and walk you through what this is going to look like, man. We don't know if your neck is injured, you got rear-ended. We're going to be super safe getting you out of this car, which means we're probably going to use the jaws of life to pull this door off, man. It's pretty smashed. It doesn't mean you're more hurt than you are. This machine is loud and it's big, but we want to be safe and move you as little as possible, man, to make sure that we don't further injure anything or just create an injury that we don't want to create, right? So they're going to get here. We're going to do that. We're going to put a neck brace on you, right? It's going to be full of air, et cetera, right? All the way to the point, man, where I've gotten in the ambulance and I've ridden in the ambulance to the hospital with people because they felt just more safe with how I was helping them. Client emotions during the sell and buy process, dude, it's the same way. So like the way we created our buyer presentation, our selling presentations wasn't just the play-by-play of like what everything looks like from evaluating the home, staging the home, getting it prepped, putting it online. It was also managing, hey, here's what's happened to people in the past. Here's what typically happens during the process. Here's what we may feel. Here's how we plan for these things. And it was just managing their emotions and their mindset prior to entering the actual process. And then when you're in the process, it was just reflecting back on what you've reminded them about. And when you're doing that, man, you're a very powerful advisor, and it takes very little effort for them to listen and allow you to advise that process because of how well you set that up in the front, right? So super unexpected, but became one of my strengths as far as like, oh man, I didn't think it'd be like this, but I've been doing that in some really, really riskful situations. Man, I'm gonna like, how can I? And then again, it was how can I create content around that to deliver to buyers and sellers to walk them through it, and then how can I create training out of this to then train our agents to also manage clients in the same manner to help them convert and become a professional.
Right. Absolutely, man. That's big stuff. I mean, it's fun to listen to you talk about it because, you know, there's every real estate transaction. I feel like my first 200 real estate transactions, I learned something new. Like there was plenty of content, right? Like, so there's always something. Did you feel like that as you were doing? We're just like, holy shit, like another something I've never seen happen before. It feels like every deal's like that. And so, yeah. And so as you go through all of those experiences, your confidence goes up, and you realize, oh, I actually know how to help people here. Like I actually know how to help avoid some of these problems now. And, you know, you could talk to people to talk them through, set their expectations. I remember early on in my career, you'll appreciate this. I was a young kid, didn't really know a whole lot at this point, but I was making this promise that I would call people every week. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I did a really good job, and I really helped people. They enjoyed the process. I was a good practitioner, but I got too busy and I didn't have all the pieces I needed to really kind of skill where I was at. Yeah. And so, I started having some people that were frustrated that I wasn't getting to them. And it wasn't because I wasn't doing anything. It was just because there was not enough time today for me to get to every single call. Right. And so I was making those promises, but I got to the point where I understood, like, that's not the point is not for me to call you every week. The point is for you to be informed. And here's how I'm going to inform you. And here's what it's going to look like. And setting the expectation. And listen, in the first 30 days, we're going to review, we set a time in the calendar. We're going to review. We're going to look at what came on the market, what went pending, what went sold. And we're going to compare that to where we're at. And we're going to look if we need to do something different or if we're in a place that we need to be. But it was all about setting the expectations. And I was setting, the expectation I was going to call them every week and letting them down, as opposed to, saying, hey, we're going to meet in 30 days. And I'd call them twice or three times in between that and then I over deliver. And so, yeah, it's fun. It's fun as you get into the business. I mean, you guys exploded though. My gosh, 4 years in the business and 2 million in GCI coming from YouTube is insane, bro. Like that's just from YouTube. Yeah. That's from our personal sphere, our outbound or anything. And man, like the number one kickback I get from that when I teach the stuff is, well, yeah, Will, you're a Marine, you're a cop. Like, of course you can help these people, right? Like, I'm just me. And it's like, are you a mom? Like when I speak on stage, it's like, hey, where are my moms? Moms, raise your hand. Moms, you are freaking badass, right? Like, no doubt. I just the bottom line is I found where my strengths were because of my background. Right. But whether you're a prior coach, you're a mom. Moms are extremely patient, organized, right? Like they're able to pivot and do certain things. Like you just got to find the strength within you and like, hey, where's the Marine inside of you? Where's the officer inside of you that makes you extremely proficient in what you do? And it's just about identifying with that so you can express it
through practitionership. It's not that you have to come from my background to do so. And like for you, it was trials and tribulations and being callous and building your skill set to finally reaching that point of like, man, I'm shooting myself in the foot. It's like, hey, I got to start telling clients no news is good news. Right. And like, or right.
We started every,
or just decentralized.
We started every listing appointment
in place to do those things. Right.
Yeah. We started every listing presentation. I started with, guys, I'm going to tell you guys what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Are you guys okay with that? We started that every single time. Another thing that we said, I'd always say was, we're not testing the marketing we're doing on your home. The marketing we do is proven to sell thousands of homes. What we're testing is the price of the home in your market. You understand where I'm coming from? Like getting those little things set in stone, so they're not calling you going, well, why isn't it sold? Why isn't it sold? And now that's not a problem in today's market. People don't have that problem. But where I come from, man, and some homes just didn't sell. And so
yeah,
it was
in today's market, man, the problem is you got people throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks. You got people throwing several offers on the table on several different homes. You got people saying they're going to cover an appraisal gap, but they don't have it. You know, like, so for example, when you're talking about listings, it's like, hey man, a listing it's like being a super pretty girl in a bar full of men. It's like, well, and all those men are offers. And it's like, well, which one's legit, right? You're getting so many offers over asking price and they're just promising you the world. Like listings here in Colorado, we're the second hottest market behind San Diego in the country. You'll see homes fall out of contract in 2 days. You haven't even gotten to an inspection. Why is it falling out of contract? Because they've got multiple offers out there, and the one they really wanted, they won that offer. So they're then retracting this one, or they're falling out of contract. You know, and it's like, or you'll have some things pop up after inspection during the appraisal where they want to renegotiate and they pause. And part when you're, you know, when it's like, anyone can sell a home in today's market, that's not true. You got to weed through all this BS. And part of that is when you're getting offers that, you know, realtors are throwing in. Are you getting that phone call from them? Did you get the phone call from their lender, or are you calling the lender? And if I got to call the lender or they're calling me, it's like, hey man, I've got an offer from your clients, Jeff and Christina. Are you aware of the address they submitted an offer on? Right. Tell me the address. Like, I don't need to hear they're amazing buyers and they're qualified. No, man. I need to hear that you're aware of the address that you submitted this, which means your realtor is speaking to you about this offer prior to you guys submitting, which means you're probably dialed in. But if you don't know the address and you don't have it readily available, I don't care if they're approved for $700. I know that this home has $16,000 a year in taxes, not $5 like the normal. So maybe they're not qualified because we're in a super higher tax bracket where they threw an offer, or when they say they offer $100,000 over asking price and they're going to cover the gap. Well, how many times are buyer agents or buyers relying on it's going to appraise? This market's crazy. It's going to appraise. And maybe they only have 15,000 readily available, but they'll say they'll cover the gap because they're relying on an appraisal. But sometimes, man, they don't appraise. So when we're asking like, hey, in this offer, they're prepared to cover the gap. Where is the appraisal gap coming from? Is it coming from family? Is it coming from their own checking or savings account? Is it coming from a 401k or somewhere, or some Roth where they're going to get taxed if they pull out on it? Because if you've got that entire gap coming from some account like that and you're going to get taxed for pulling on it, are they going to get reluctant when come appraisal time, when it doesn't appraise and they've got to pull $75,000 out when they thought they were only going to need 15,
and they're going to have to pay taxes on that?
Maybe bounce because they don't want to get taxed, and they were just putting that account on the paper for the offer to show that they have it, but are they actually prepared to use it if they need it, right? And then, or just finding out that they don't have it readily available.
Right.
And that's a super weird conversation with the lender when he, you know, because they'll tell me where it's coming from. Great, man. Do me a favor. I need you to go ahead and you can cross off account numbers, but I need you to send me some type of verification where these funds are coming from so I can present that to the client, because that's a lot of money on appraisal gap. Super appreciate it, but it's got to be verified just like anything else we're doing with this offer. And those conversations, man, it weeds out the folks that are just not prepared.
Right. Absolutely. No, it is truly being an expert, and that's what clients need today. So, let's talk about, you know,
like half the people are just full of shit when they talk to you. So it's like, so when we're doing listing presentations and how we're winning offers, yeah, man, we can talk about where to competitively price your home and all of that. But that conversation I just had with you, sellers are more interested in the 2-minute thing I just gave you right there, right, than anything else, because they're trying to deflect and make sure that if they're going under contract, they're prepared as possible. And I'm probably saying something to them that no one else has said.
That's a key right there. You're establishing your expertise. You're making your value visible. And you're showing them that you're the expert, and the other agent didn't talk anything about it, and it's creating doubt. And it's true that agent probably doesn't have a process and doesn't understand the things that you do. So I love it, man. It is, like you always say, it's truly being that excellent practitioner in the business and teaching others to do the same. You mentioned, having, the systems, not just doing it for yourself, but then you have to create the training to do it for others and help others do it. And you've been doing that now and creating those systems and helping tons of agents become more successful when they partner with you at eXp. If somebody was interested in wanting to learn from you and get under your wing and grow underneath you, what would be a good way for them to get in touch with you or reach out to you?
Man, you can have my personal cell phone if you want. I'm not sure if anybody wants that on this podcast. I'll get prank calls. But if you go to Will_Grimes on Instagram, willgrimes.com, there's a couple things from that I still do in the SOCOM community where they can reach out. If they're part of our network, obviously at eXp, they get everything for free, man. And I think the biggest thing, and where we're helping everybody now is we've got some agents that they're brand new. And we're still great. We've got agents around us that we've trained for the past couple of years that are great at getting brand new agents going and cranking at a proficient level. And then more importantly, we've got a lot of team leaders that are coming over right now because they saw Eli and I's success at the team leader level, and they need help creating content and create training. And I think, man, where I separate myself a little bit is when I was in the Marine Corps, my final, duty station was division schools, right? So I was the lead counter sniper instructor for Urban Assault Leaders course for the entire 1st Marine Division. And that's where you're taking a ton of tactics and creating hey, how do we train for that? Hey, this is how we have to improvise, adapt, and overcome certain situations. How do we actually create material and content to train on that develops a Marine from A to B, right? And at division schools, it's all leadership training, man. It's all squad leaders that are coming from different units to learn all of this stuff. It's not a brand new Marine. Right. You're an accomplished squad leader or above that have to learn these skill sets. So when it comes to the real estate world, we're starting to run into a lot of powerful guys, man, that are just great at what they're doing. But it's, hey, how do you reverse engineer this and create training and develop skill sets that correlate into success? Like when we talk about YouTube, I'm having people just practice being consistent on Facebook. Right. And I got to spell it out and explain it to them, but it's hey, we're developing consistent habits, waking up on time, managing your diet, managing your workout, managing your social media content, making sure you're replying to comments, making sure you're not missing videos. It's all of those things that are developing your skill set. So when we get over here, you've got that prepared, right? If you don't know how to shoot, you've got zero business being at division schools, right? So, right. But then more importantly, hey, you're great at shooting. What makes you great at shooting, right? What makes you great at communicating? How do we create training? And I think that's probably the biggest gap in real estate right now is not so much that new agents don't have resources to get better. They've got endless resources to get better, which is probably what's paralyzing them. But I think that was probably the gap maybe when you were new, bro, is you just didn't have a lot of resources. I don't think that
there wasn't. Yeah, there wasn't. It was a long time ago.
Now there's a ton. So I think the new gap in real estate is you've got a ton of hitters, but they have very little idea how to create content and training out of it to get people to mimic and to be on the same path that they are, to get others around them to become more successful.
Right. I love that, man. That's great, man, dude. It's been a great time talking to you, man. Yeah, man. What's the one thing you would tell somebody if they're thinking about, leveling up in real estate and wanting to reach out to you?
Two things. I gotta have two. I'm a talker. Two things. I love it. Whether you're leveling up and wanting to do that or you're new into it, you got to take quitting off the table, right? Whether you're going to do this or not do it, it just big picture, you got to take the quitting off the table. So whether you're doing this all in or not, that can't be there, right? And then your day-to-day tasks, even at that micro level, you got to take quitting off the table, right? So allowing your emotions to have majority vote of whether you're going to do something or not because you don't feel like going to the gym or I don't feel like creating some content today. Whether you feel like it or not is not the majority vote, right? Fundamentally should be your majority vote. Get motivated and emotional about your goals. Do not get emotional about the process in the middle of it and whether you feel like doing it or not. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, man. And as far as repeat your question one more time, because I had a second thing for you.
Yeah. If they're thinking about really leveling up and getting to the next level.
Yes. You gotta be patient and open-minded, but you have to build your threshold for work ethic and proficiency, right? Like Jay, everything you're doing now, the guy that started real estate could not manage everything you're managing right now.
Right.
The Will 4 years ago that was just getting into real estate, dude, even though I was this high speed guy from a different world, dude, just managing 10 clients at one time was like, holy cow. Right. Now we're managing hundreds of clients, plus our own content, plus public speaking and training. But over time, man, like we pushed our limits. We were super consistent. We never quit. And we built the threshold of what all in actually means and like what performing at a high level actually looks like. And most people, man, when they tell you they're all in, hey, man, I'm all in. I think that they are telling the truth for what they think all in is. But as you build that threshold and you really learn how much more work you can squeeze out of the thing, you start learning, oh shit, all in is like ocean deep, right? And so just be patient with yourself and forgiving with yourself and open-minded to allow others to influence you. And you're going to be wrong a lot again when you're, establishing that threshold. But, I think that's also the biggest hang up for guys that perform well on their own, that are afraid to go to that next level because you got to be new again. You're a brand new leader. You're a brand new influencer. There's some changes there and you're going to have to build that threshold, but just don't have that emotional response to it and allow guys to pour into you and put yourself around the right people.
Yep. Love it, man. Yeah. That no doubt about that, man. Those are great answers, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's great talking to you, man. And looking forward to getting to see you and be around you and learn from you as well over the next few years of us building.
Yeah, man. We got this coming up.
Up soon. That's right. Yep. That's right.
You are gonna have a great time there, man. And I want to talk to you a little bit later too. I know we got that event we're doing in Denver toward the end of the summer.
Yeah.
That I think would be great to have you here for. So obviously when you and I get more time to talk about it, but man, Shaw's is going to be extraordinary for you to get around some other special operators and have some fun out there. And the event here in Denver, man, like we got to get you off of that boat every once in a while.
I'm good with that, man. It sounds like a good time. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks for joining the podcast, man. Have a great day, the rest of the day, and a great weekend.
Likewise.
Yep. Take care.
See you, buddy.